Gerald Whitmore stands in the marble-floored lobby of the Ashford, the most exclusive residential building in Charlotte, North Carolina. A building he owns, a building he built from the ground up with 7 years of work, $12 million in investor capital, and the unshakable belief that he decides who belongs here. He is 54 years old. He is wearing a navy blazer with brass buttons, pressed khaki trousers, and Italian loafers that cost $1,100. He smells like sandalwood cologne and old money. His hair is silver white, combed back with precision, and his jaw is set in the particular way that men set their jaws when they have already made a decision and are simply waiting for the world to catch up to it. He is looking at two people standing on the other side of his reception desk, a black man and a black woman. They are dressed impeccably. The man is wearing a tailored charcoal overcoat over a cashmere sweater. The woman is in a cream wool coat with a silk scarf at her throat. They are holding a printed confirmation email for a private showing of the penthouse unit, apartment 14A, 3 bedrooms, 2,400 square feet, floor-to-ceiling windows, a terrace overlooking the Charlotte skyline, listed at $6,800 per month. Gerald looks at the confirmation email. He looks at them. He folds the paper in half and slides it back across the counter. "I'm afraid there's been an error," he says. "That unit is no longer available." The man looks at the woman. The woman looks at Gerald. She doesn't blink. "We confirmed this showing 48 hours ago," she says. "Your office sent us a welcome packet." Gerald smiles. It is the kind of smile that isn't a smile. It is a barrier dressed up as hospitality. "These things happen," he says. "Units move fast in this market. I'm sure you understand." "We drove 4 hours from Atlanta," the man says. His voice is calm, measured, the kind of calm that comes from years of practice, years of standing in rooms where people look at you and see something other than what you are. "I appreciate that," Gerald says, "but I can't show you a unit that's already been leased." He hasn't leased it. The unit has been vacant for 3 weeks. The last showing was 6 days ago, a white couple from Raleigh who decided it was too far from their daughter's school. The unit is empty right now. The lights are on. The floors were cleaned yesterday. Gerald knows this because he approved the cleaning invoice this morning at 8:14 a.m. He is lying. He is lying because the two people standing in front of him are black, and Gerald Whitmore has spent 31 years in luxury real estate, building a very specific kind of community, one that looks a very specific kind of way, and these two people do not match the picture in his head. He doesn't say this, of course. He would never say this. He says no longer available. He says, "These things happen." He says, "I'm sure you understand." The language of exclusion is never crude. It is always polished, always reasonable, always deniable. What Gerald Whitmore does not know, what he cannot possibly know because he never bothered to ask their names, never bothered to read the confirmation email carefully, never bothered to do anything other than look at them and decide, is that the man standing in front of him is Marcus Calloway, and the woman is Denise Calloway. And in exactly 11 days, Marcus Calloway will sit down at the head of a conference table on the 22nd floor of Pinnacle Real Estate Group's headquarters in Charlotte and sign the final acquisition documents that make him the managing director of Pinnacle's Southeast Division, the division that now owns the Ashford, the division that now owns every property in Gerald Whitmore's portfolio, the division that now owns Gerald Whitmore's career. In 11 days, Gerald Whitmore's new boss will be the black man he just turned away from his lobby. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. Let us go back to where this begins. Marcus Calloway grows up in a house with 1,700 square feet and 4 people in it. The house sits on Delmar Avenue and East Street. Louis, Illinois, a city that most Americans know only as a statistic, one of the poorest cities in the country, one of the most violent, one of the most forgotten. The house belongs to his grandmother, Loretta Calloway, who bought it in 1971 for $14,000 with money she saved over 9 years working as a night shift nurse at St. Mary's Hospital. The mortgage payment was $112 a month. Loretta never missed a payment, not once, not when her husband left, not when her daughter, Marcus's mother, moved to Chicago and didn't come back, not when she took in Marcus at age 4 and his sister Tanya at age 6 and raised them on a nurse's salary, and a garden that grew tomatoes and green beans, and the stubborn belief that property was freedom. Own something, Loretta tells Marcus every Sunday after church. Own the ground you stand on, and nobody can tell you to move. Marcus listens. He listens to everything his grandmother says because Loretta Calloway is the smartest person he has ever met. She never went to college. She got her nursing certification from a 2-year program at a community college in Belleville when she was 23. But she understands money the way some people understand music, intuitively, structurally, with a sense for patterns that others miss. She shows Marcus how to read a mortgage statement when he is 11. She explains compound interest when he is 13. She takes him to the county assessor's office when he is 15 and shows him how to look up property values, tax liens, and ownership records. "This is how the world works," she says. "Everything is written down somewhere. You just have to know where to look." Marcus graduates from East St. Louis Senior High School in 2008 with a 4.1 GPA, a full scholarship to Washington University in St. Louis, and a 67-page notebook filled with property records, interest calculations, and hand-drawn maps of every vacant lot within a 2-mile radius of his grandmother's house. He majors in finance. He graduates summa cum laude. He gets his MBA from Wharton in 2014. His thesis is on redlining and its multi-generational effects on Black property ownership in American cities. It is 231 pages long. His advisor calls it the most rigorous work she has seen in 20 years. 3 private equity firms offer him positions before he finishes. He takes none of them. He goes to work for Pinnacle Real Estate Group, a mid-size real estate development and property management firm based in Charlotte, North Carolina, because Pinnacle is doing something nobody else in the industry is doing: acquiring neglected properties in historically underinvested neighborhoods, renovating them, and offering them at below-market rates, with rent-to-own pathways for residents. The founder of Pinnacle, a woman named Catherine Joe, built the company on the premise that housing is not just an investment vehicle, it is a human right. Marcus Calloway believes this. He believes it because his grandmother bought a house on Delmar Avenue for $14,000 and raised 2 grandchildren in it and never missed a payment, and that house gave them stability, and that stability gave them futures, and those futures are the reason Marcus Calloway is standing in the lobby of the Ashford on a Saturday afternoon in October, being told that a unit he confirmed 2 days ago is suddenly, mysteriously, no longer available. He meets Denise in 2016. She is a second-year associate at Morrison & Whitfield, one of the largest real estate law firms in the Southeast. She is 27 years old, a graduate of Spelman College and Georgetown Law, and she is the first person Marcus has ever met who can read a property deed faster than he can. They argue about zoning regulations on their first date. They argue about capital gains exemptions on their second date. On their third date, they sit on the roof of Denise's apartment building in Midtown Atlanta and talk for 4 hours about what they want to build. Not just careers, not just wealth, but systems, structures, pathways for people who look like them to own property, to build equity, to stand on ground that belongs to them. They marry in 2019 in Loretta's backyard on Delmar Avenue. The reception is in the garage. The catering is from a soul food restaurant on State Street. Loretta sits in a folding chair at the head table and tells everyone who will listen that her grandson owns property in 3 states, and her new granddaughter-in-law can outread any lawyer in the country. She is not wrong. By 2024, Marcus Calloway is the youngest senior vice president in Pinnacle Real Estate Group's history. He has overseen the acquisition of 47 properties across 6 states. His division has created rent-to-own pathways for over 1,200 families. Denise is made partner at Morrison & Whitfield. She specializes in fair housing litigation. She has won 11 cases against landlords who discriminated against tenants based on race, disability, or family status. 11 cases, 11 landlords who said, "no longer available," or "already leased," or "these things happen." Denise knows the language. She knows every variation of it. She has heard it in depositions, in recorded phone calls, in emails that defendants thought were deleted. She knows exactly what Gerald Whitmore is doing when he slides the confirmation email back across the counter and says the unit is no longer available. She knows because she has spent 8 years prosecuting men exactly like him. Gerald Whitmore inherits his first property at 23. It is a 6-unit apartment building on Moorhead Street in Charlotte, left to him by his father, Donald Whitmore, who bought it in 1982 for $210,000. Donald Whitmore was a contractor who built custom homes in the Myers Park neighborhood for 40 years. He was a practical man, a quiet man, a man who believed in hard work and property values and the importance of maintaining certain standards in the communities he built. Gerald does not have his father's work ethic. What Gerald has is his father's Rolodex, his father's reputation, and his father's unspoken but deeply embedded belief that certain neighborhoods function best when they remain homogeneous. Gerald does not use that word. Gerald uses words like character and fit and community standards. He talks about protecting property values and maintaining the integrity of the building. He has a gift for saying discriminatory things in non-discriminatory language, and he has practiced this gift for 31 years without ever being caught, without ever being sued, without ever facing a single consequence. By 2024, Gerald Whitmore owns or manages 14 residential properties across Charlotte and the surrounding suburbs. His flagship property is The Ashford, a luxury apartment building in the South End neighborhood that he developed from the ground up. 72 units, granite countertops, hardwood floors, concierge service, a rooftop terrace with a view of the Bank of America Stadium. Units range from $2,800 to $6,800 per month. The building is 89% occupied. The waiting list has 43 names on it. Not a single current resident is black. Not one. In a city where 35% of the population is black, Gerald Whitmore's flagship building is 100% non-black. This is not an accident. This is by design. Gerald does not keep written records of his screening practices. He is not stupid. He knows that written records create liability. Instead, he uses a system he calls personal vetting, a process by which he personally reviews every rental application and conducts every showing himself. His criteria are never documented. His decisions are never explained. Applicants who don't fit his vision of the Ashford's community simply receive a polite email informing them that the unit has been leased to another applicant. The email is always professional, always courteous, always legally defensible, or so Gerald believes. What Gerald does not know is that Pinnacle Real Estate Group has been watching his portfolio for 18 months. Catherine Joe, Pinnacle's founder, identified Whitmore Property Group as a potential acquisition target in March of the previous year. The properties are well maintained, the locations are prime, the financials are strong. But Catherine has also heard rumors, industry whispers about Gerald's tenant selection practices, informal complaints that never became formal ones, a pattern that is visible to anyone who looks at the demographics of his buildings and compares them to the demographics of the neighborhoods they sit in. Catherine assigns the acquisition to Marcus Calloway. She does this for two reasons. First, because Marcus is the best acquisition specialist in the company, the most thorough, the most strategic, the most capable of seeing value where others see risk. Second, because Catherine knows that if the rumors about Gerald Whitmore are true, Marcus will find the evidence. He always does. Marcus begins his due diligence in April. He reviews the financials, the property conditions, the lease agreements, the maintenance records. Everything looks clean. Everything looks professional. Then he pulls the demographic data. He cross-references tenant records with census data for each property's zip code. He runs the numbers 3 times because the first 2 times he thinks he must be making an error. He is not making an error. Across 14 properties, 712 units, Gerald Whitmore has 0 black tenants. 0. In a metropolitan area where the black population is 35%. The statistical probability of this occurring by chance is less than 0.001%. Marcus shows the data to Catherine. Catherine looks at the numbers for a long time. She takes off her glasses. She puts them back on. She looks at the numbers again. "We acquire the company," she says, "and then we fix it." The acquisition is structured as a stock purchase. Pinnacle will acquire 100% of Whitmore Property Group's shares. Gerald Whitmore will receive $12.4 million for his portfolio. As part of the deal, Gerald will stay on as a property manager for a transition period of 6 months, reporting to the managing director of Pinnacle's Southeast Division. That managing director is Marcus Calloway. Gerald does not know this yet. The acquisition documents have been in negotiation for 4 months. Gerald has dealt exclusively with Pinnacle's legal team and a senior partner named Howard Brennan. He has never met Marcus. He has never seen his photograph. He has never heard his name. The closing is scheduled for October 28th. Marcus and Denise decide to relocate to Charlotte 2 weeks early. They want to find a place to live. They want to get to know the city. And Marcus wants to see Gerald Whitmore's operation from the inside, not as a corporate executive reviewing spreadsheets, but as a prospective tenant walking through the front door. Let me apply to one of his buildings, Marcus tells Catherine over the phone. Let me see what happens. Catherine is quiet for a moment. Are you sure? I need to see it for myself, Marcus says. The numbers tell one story. I need to see the other one. They choose the Ashford, the flagship, the crown jewel. They submit an application online using their real names, their real income, their real credit scores. Marcus's credit score is 814. Denise's is 821. Their combined household income is $462,000 per year. They could buy the building. The online application is approved within 24 hours. They receive a confirmation email for a private showing on Saturday, October 19th at 2 p.m. The email includes a welcome packet with floor plans, amenity descriptions, and a personal note from Gerald Whitmore himself. We look forward to welcoming you to the Ashford community. The email does not include a photograph of the applicants. The application form does not require one. Gerald Whitmore has no idea who is coming to his showing. He will find out at 2 p.m. on Saturday, and everything will change. The Ashford sits on a corner lot in Charlotte's South End, a neighborhood that has transformed over the past decade from a collection of warehouses and rail yards into one of the most desirable residential districts in the city. The building is 12 stories of glass and reclaimed brick, designed by a firm out of Raleigh that specializes in luxury mixed-use developments. The lobby is double height, with polished concrete floors, a living wall of green plants cascading down one side, and a reception desk made of walnut and brushed brass. There is a concierge named Paul who wears a gray suit and knows every resident by name. There is a coffee station with a commercial espresso machine. There is ambient music playing, something with piano and soft strings, the soundtrack of wealth performed for an audience that expects it. Marcus and Denise arrive at 1:52 p.m. They are 8 minutes early. They park their car, a black Audi Q7 with Georgia plates, in the visitor lot and walk to the entrance. Marcus holds the door for Denise. They step into the lobby. Paul, the concierge, looks up from his desk. He sees them. He sees what Gerald will see. Two black people in an expensive lobby. His expression flickers, just for a moment, just long enough for Denise to notice. Then he composes himself and smiles. Welcome to the Ashford. How can I help you? We have a 2 o'clock showing with Mr. Whitmore, Marcus says. Apartment 14A. Paul looks at his schedule. He looks back at them. He picks up the phone and calls Gerald's office. Mr. Whitmore, your 2 o'clock is here. There is a pause. Paul listens. He says, yes, sir. He hangs up. Mr. Whitmore will be right down. They wait. They stand in the lobby for 7 minutes. Denise counts. She always counts. In her experience, the length of a wait is directly proportional to the color of the person waiting. 7 minutes. In those 7 minutes, 2 other people walk through the lobby. A white woman in yoga pants carrying a smoothie. She waves at Paul, who waves back. A white man in a business suit talking on his phone. He nods at Paul, who nods back. Neither of them is asked who they are. Neither of them is asked why they are here. Neither of them waits. Gerald Whitmore appears from the elevator at 2:07 p.m. He is wearing his navy blazer with brass buttons. His silver-white hair catches the lobby light. He walks toward the reception desk with the measured stride of a man who owns the ground beneath his feet. He extends his hand. Then he sees them. The hand stays extended for half a beat too long. Then it drops. Not obviously, not dramatically, just enough. The physics of prejudice are subtle. A hand that stays extended for a white couple retracts a quarter second faster for a black one. A smile that reaches the eyes for one visitor stops at the mouth for another. A voice that says, welcome, come right in, shifts to, how can I help you? The difference is millimeters. But Denise Calloway has spent 8 years measuring those millimeters in depositions and courtrooms, and she sees every single one. Mr. and Mrs. Calloway? Gerald says. Yes, Marcus says. He extends his hand. Gerald shakes it. The handshake is brief, professional, cold. Thank you for coming, Gerald says. He does not say, welcome to the Ashford. He does not say, we're so glad you're interested. He says, thank you for coming, which is what you say to someone who is about to leave. Denise notices. We're excited to see the unit, Denise says. She smiles. It is a deliberate smile, warm and open, the kind of smile that forces the other person to either match it or reveal themselves. Gerald does not match it. "Of course," he says. He turns toward the elevator. He does not offer to take their coats. He does not offer them coffee from the espresso machine that he offers every white prospective tenant who walks through the door. He presses the elevator button and stands with his hands clasped behind his back, creating a physical barrier of formality between himself and them. They ride the elevator in silence. 12 floors. Denise counts the seconds. 41 seconds. Nobody speaks. The ambient music plays through a small speaker in the elevator ceiling. Gerald looks at the floor numbers. Marcus looks at Gerald. He studies him the way he studies acquisition targets, methodically, noting every detail, filing every observation. The elevator opens on the 14th floor. Gerald leads them down a carpeted hallway to Unit 14A. He unlocks the door. He steps inside, but does not hold the door for them. Marcus catches it with his hand. The apartment is stunning. 2,400 square feet of open-plan living space. Floor-to-ceiling windows running the entire length of the south wall. Hardwood floors the color of honey. A kitchen with a marble waterfall island. Sub-zero refrigerator. Wolf range. Custom cabinetry. 3 bedrooms, each with ensuite bathrooms. A terrace that wraps around the corner of the building, offering views of the Charlotte skyline to the south and the green canopy of Latta Park to the east. The unit is immaculate. It is also clearly unoccupied. There is no furniture, no personal items, no sign that anyone has lived here recently. The cleaning crew left vacuum tracks on the carpet in the master bedroom. The air smells like lemon cleaning solution and new paint. This unit has not been leased. It is available. It is waiting. Marcus walks through the apartment slowly, deliberately. He opens cabinets. He checks the water pressure in the kitchen sink. He steps onto the terrace and looks at the view. He is not performing. He genuinely loves well-built spaces. His grandmother taught him to appreciate construction, to notice the quality of the joints, the weight of the doors, the way the light falls through windows. This is a well-built space. Gerald watches them from the entrance hallway. He has not moved deeper into the apartment. He has not pointed out features. He has not mentioned the amenities, the rooftop terrace, the fitness center, the reserved parking. He has not done any of the things he does during every other showing, the rehearsed performance of hospitality that turns a viewing into a seduction. He is waiting. He is waiting for them to finish so he can tell them the unit is not available. Denise knows this. She has seen this performance before. She has deposed landlords who gave the exact same showing, the silent tour, the absent enthusiasm, the rehearsed refusal waiting at the end like a trapdoor. She takes out her phone. She does not take photographs. She opens her voice memo app and presses record. She puts the phone back in her coat pocket with the microphone facing up. In North Carolina, only one party needs to consent to a recording. Denise consents. "This is beautiful," Denise says. "How long has this unit been available?" Gerald pauses. "It actually just came back on the market recently." "Recently?" Marcus asks. "How recently?" "Within the last week or so." The cleaning invoice Gerald approved this morning was for a routine monthly cleaning. The unit has been vacant for 3 weeks. The last showing was 6 days ago. Gerald is being deliberately vague, and Marcus knows it because he has already reviewed the Ashford's vacancy records as part of his due diligence. He knows exactly how long this unit has been empty. He knows exactly how many showings it has had. He knows exactly how many of those showings resulted in applications, and he knows that 2 of those applications, both from black couples, were rejected with the standard unit has been leased email. "We'd like to apply," Marcus says. Gerald's expression tightens. The muscles around his jaw contract. His eyes shift from Marcus to Denise and back to Marcus, performing a calculation that is not financial, that has nothing to do with credit scores or income verification, that is older and uglier and more fundamental than any metric in his portfolio. "I should mention," Gerald says, "that we've had a lot of interest in this unit. I have several applications already under review." "We submitted our application online," Denise says. "It was approved." "Online approval is preliminary," Gerald says. "It's not a guarantee. I conduct a personal review of every application before making a final decision." "What does a personal review involve?" Denise asks. Her voice is perfectly calm. Perfectly professional. Perfectly recorded. Gerald shifts his weight. I look at the overall profile, income stability, employment history, references. I also consider whether the applicant is a good fit for the community. A good fit, Denise repeats. What does that mean exactly? It means I take a holistic view. The Ashford has a particular character, a particular culture. I want to make sure every resident contributes to that. Denise nods slowly. She does not press further. She does not need to. She has what she needs. They ride the elevator back to the lobby. Gerald walks them to the reception desk. He picks up the confirmation email they printed and brought with them. He looks at it. He folds it in half. He slides it back across the counter. I'm afraid there's been an error, he says. That unit is no longer available. And now we are back where we started. Marcus and Denise walk out of the Ashford at 2:34 p.m. They do not rush. They do not look back. They walk to their car in the visitor lot, and Marcus opens the passenger door for Denise, and they sit in the car for a moment without starting the engine. The October air is warm through the open windows. Charlotte warm. The kind of warmth that feels like a contradiction. Pleasant on the surface, oppressive underneath. Denise takes out her phone. She stops the voice memo recording. It is 14 minutes and 37 seconds long. She plays back the last 2 minutes. Gerald's voice comes through clearly. I conduct a personal review. A good fit for the community. The Ashford has a particular character. No longer available. She saves the file. She emails it to herself. She emails it to her personal server. She uploads it to a cloud backup that she maintains for exactly these situations. Then she sits back in her seat and closes her eyes. Marcus watches her. He knows what she is feeling because he is feeling it too. It is not surprise. It is not shock. It is the specific, exhausting weight of being proven right about something you hoped you were wrong about. You walk into a building knowing what might happen. You hope it won't. You prepare for it anyway. And when it happens, there is no satisfaction in the preparation. There is only the tiredness of having been right. You okay? Marcus asks. Denise opens her eyes. I've been deposing men like him for 8 years, Marcus. I know the script by heart. No longer available. Already leased. Not a good fit. Every time, same words, same smile, same folded paper slid back across the counter. I know. 14 minutes and 37 seconds of recorded evidence of housing discrimination in violation of the Fair Housing Act, Section 804, subsections A through D. Marcus reaches over and takes her hand. We knew this was possible. Possible and acceptable are not the same thing. She is right. They sit in the parking lot for 3 more minutes. Then Marcus starts the car. They drive to the hotel where they are staying, a Marriott on South Tryon Street, 9 minutes from the Ashford, 9 minutes from the building that Gerald Whitmore just denied them entry to, despite their 8-1-4 and 8, 2-1 credit scores, and their $462,000 combined income, and their spotless rental history, and their application that was approved online in 24 hours and rejected in person in 14 minutes because Gerald Whitmore looked at them and saw the wrong color. At the hotel, Marcus calls Catherine Joe. She answers on the first ring. How did it go? Exactly how the data predicted. Silence on the line. Catherine Joe is not a woman who wastes words. She is 58 years old, the daughter of Chinese immigrants who built a laundromat business in Queens and taught her that property ownership was the only hedge against a world that would never fully accept her. She built Pinnacle Real Estate Group from a single duplex purchase in 2003 into a 200-property portfolio worth $600 million. She has no patience for bigotry and even less patience for landlords who mistake their prejudice for business acumen. The recording? Catherine asks. 14 minutes, clear audio, multiple statements indicating discriminatory screening criteria. Good. We proceed with the acquisition on the 28th. He stays on as property manager during the transition period. We let him dig his own grave. Catherine, I want to be clear about something. When I sit down across from him on the 28th, he is going to recognize me, and he is going to understand exactly what is happening. I'm counting on it, Catherine says. That man has been running a segregated housing operation in the 21st century using polite language and Italian loafers. He is going to learn that the world has caught up to him. She pauses. Marcus, are you sure you want to handle this personally? I can assign another director. My grandmother bought a house in East St. Louis for $14,000, Marcus says. She never missed a payment. She taught me that property is freedom. That man is using property as a weapon. I'm going to take that weapon out of his hands. Then do it, Catherine says, and make sure it sticks. Marcus hangs up. He looks at Denise, who is sitting at the desk in their hotel room, laptop open, already pulling up Fair Housing Act case law, already drafting the framework for the complaint she will file with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. She is a lawyer. This is what she does. She takes the language of exclusion and translates it into the language of accountability. She does it with precision, with evidence, with the cold, meticulous fury of a woman who has heard "no longer available" one too many times. The next 9 days pass with the mechanical precision of a corporate acquisition. Lawyers review documents. Accountants verify figures. Insurance policies are transferred. Title searches are completed. Employment records are compiled. Gerald Whitmore signs page after page of transfer documents, each one moving his properties, his company, his legacy into the hands of Pinnacle Real Estate Group. He signs happily. He signs with the relief of a man who's cashing out at the top of the market, $12.4 million. After 31 years, he is liquid. He is free. He will stay on as a property manager for 6 months, a transition period that will allow him to train whoever Pinnacle assigns to replace him, and then he will retire. He has already looked at beach houses in Hilton Head. He has already told his wife, Sandra, that they will spend winters in Florida. He has already begun to think of himself as a man who has won. Gerald does not know that the acquisition includes a comprehensive audit of all tenant screening records. He does not know that Pinnacle's legal team has subpoenaed his email server. He does not know that 3 former applicants, all black, all rejected, with the standard "unit has been leased" email, have been contacted by Denise Calloway's firm and have agreed to provide statements. He does not know that the demographic analysis Marcus compiled in April, the one showing 0 black tenants across 712 units, has been included in a formal complaint filed with HUD on October 22nd, 6 days before the acquisition closes. He does not know any of this because Gerald Whitmore has spent 31 years believing that polite language and absent documentation make him untouchable. He is about to learn that the absence of written evidence does not mean the absence of evidence. It means the evidence lives in patterns, in statistics, in the 14-minute voice recording on Denise Calloway's phone. October 28th arrives. The closing takes place at the offices of Morrison and Whitfield, Denise's firm, in their conference room on the 15th floor of a building on South College Street. Gerald arrives at 9:45 a.m., 15 minutes early, wearing his navy blazer and Italian loafers, carrying a leather portfolio with the final documents he needs to sign. He is met in the lobby by Howard Brennan, the senior partner who has been handling the negotiation. Howard shakes his hand, offers him coffee, walks him to the elevator. They ride to the 15th floor. Howard leads him down a carpeted hallway to conference room B. He opens the door. Gerald steps inside. The room is large, a long glass table with 12 chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of Charlotte's skyline, coffee and water on a sideboard. 3 people are already seated at the table. Catherine Joe sits at the head. She is wearing a black blazer and a white blouse. Her reading glasses are perched on her nose. She is reviewing documents. She looks up and nods at Gerald. "Mr. Whitmore, thank you for coming." Gerald smiles. Dench. He has met Catherine twice before, both times via video conference. She is the founder, the name on the building. He respects her the way men like Gerald respect powerful women, cautiously, conditionally, with an awareness that they cannot dismiss her the way they dismiss others because she signs the checks. "Happy to be here," Gerald says. "This is a good day." "It is," Catherine says. She gestures to the chair across from her. "Please sit down. My managing director will walk you through the transition structure." Gerald sits. He opens his portfolio. He arranges his documents. He takes a sip of water. The door opens behind him. He hears footsteps. 2 people enter the room and walk around the table to seats beside Catherine. Gerald looks up. The water glass stops halfway to his lips. Marcus Calloway sits down directly across from Gerald Whitmore. He is wearing a charcoal suit, no tie, a white shirt with the top button open. His posture is relaxed. His expression is neutral. He places a folder on the glass table in front of him. Beside him, Denise Calloway sits down. She is wearing a navy blazer. Her hair is pulled back. She opens a laptop and angles the screen slightly toward herself. She does not look at Gerald. Not yet. Gerald's face undergoes a transformation that takes approximately 4 seconds, but contains a lifetime of recalculation. The first second is recognition. He has seen these faces before, recently, in his lobby, at his reception desk. The second is confusion. Why are they here? Why are they sitting at this table? Or why is the man he turned away 9 days ago sitting in the chair that belongs to his new boss? The third second is comprehension. The name on the folder in front of Marcus reads Calloway, Marcus J., Managing Director, Southeast Division. The name on the folder, the name on the application, the name on the confirmation email, the same name. The fourth second is fear. Gerald Whitmore sets his water glass down on the table. His hand is trembling. The glass makes a sound against the glass table, a small, sharp sound, the sound of control slipping. Mr. Whitmore, Marcus says. His voice is the same voice that said, "We drove 4 hours from Atlanta in the lobby of the Ashford." The same calm, the same measure, the same practiced patience. I'm Marcus Calloway. I'll be overseeing the transition of your portfolio. I believe we've met. The conference room is silent for 6 seconds. Catherine Joe watches Gerald Whitmore's face, the way a scientist watches a chemical reaction, clinically, attentively, with professional interest in the precise moment when the elements combine and the transformation becomes irreversible. Gerald's mouth opens. It closes. It opens again. There must be some. I didn't realize you were. He trails off. He cannot finish the sentence because every possible ending reveals something about him that he has spent 31 years concealing. Marcus lets the silence hold. He does not rescue Gerald from it. He does not offer an easy transition. He lets the man sit in the discomfort of his own recognition, the same discomfort that Marcus and Denise felt standing in his lobby for 7 minutes, riding his elevator for 41 seconds, walking through his apartment for 14 minutes, being told that a vacant unit was no longer available. Let's begin with the transition structure, Marcus says. He opens the folder. He removes a document. He slides it across the table. This is the staffing and operations review that will be conducted over the next 30 days. It includes a full audit of tenant screening practices across all 14 properties. Gerald blinks. Tenant screening practices. Yes. Pinnacle conducts a standard compliance review of all acquisition targets. We examine demographic data, application records, approval and denial rates, communication logs, and any recorded interactions between property managers and prospective tenants. Denise opens her laptop. She turns the screen toward Gerald. On the screen is a spreadsheet, 712 units, 14 properties, a column for each property showing the racial demographics of its tenants. The column for black tenants is empty. Every row, every property, every unit, 0. This is the demographic profile of your portfolio, Marcus says. 712 units, 0 black tenants, in a metropolitan area where 35% of the population is black. Gerald stares at the screen. His jaw is set. The brass buttons on his blazer catch the overhead light. Those numbers don't tell the whole story. We have a rigorous application process. Not every applicant qualifies. Your qualification criteria are not documented, Denise says. It is the first time she has spoken. Her voice is professional, precise, and carries the particular authority of someone who has said these words in courtrooms. There is no written record of why any applicant was accepted or rejected. There are no documented scoring rubrics, no standardized evaluation forms, no written criteria beyond the online application, which every applicant passes automatically based on credit score and income verification. I conduct personal reviews, Gerald says. I know, Denise says. You told us. On October 19th, at approximately 2:17 p.m., in the lobby of the Ashford, you told us that you conduct a personal review of every application and that you consider whether the applicant is, and I'm quoting, a good fit for the community. Gerald's face goes white. You also told us that the Ashford has, and I'm quoting again, a particular character and a particular culture, and that you want to make sure every resident contributes to that. She pauses. These statements were recorded. North Carolina is a one-party consent state. The room is so quiet that Marcus can hear the air conditioning cycling through the vents. He can hear the traffic on South College Street, 18 floors below. He can hear the soft electronic hum of Denise's laptop. He can hear Gerald Whitmore breathing. Gerald's breathing is shallow, rapid, the breathing of a man whose body has recognized danger before his mind has finished processing it. "I want to be very clear about what is happening," Marcus says. He folds his hands on the glass table. "As of today, Pinnacle Real Estate Group owns your portfolio. I am your direct supervisor. Denise is a partner at the firm that handles our fair housing compliance, and we have filed a formal complaint with the Department of Housing and Urban Development based on the demographic data, the recorded statements, and the testimony of 3 former applicants who were denied housing at your properties." 3 former applicants, Gerald says. 3 black applicants who applied to your properties over the past 2 years. All 3 were told the units they applied for were no longer available. All 3 units were subsequently leased to white applicants within 2 weeks. Gerald looks at Catherine Joe. He is looking for an ally. He is looking for someone at this table who sees what he sees, who understands what he understands, who will tell him that this is a misunderstanding, that he is being treated unfairly, that he is the victim here. Catherine Joe takes off her glasses. She folds them carefully. She places them on the table. "Mr. Whitmore," she says, "my parents came to this country with $40 in a suitcase. They opened a laundromat in Queens. The landlord who rented them the space charged them 30% above market rate because he knew they had no other options. He told them it was because the space needed extra maintenance. It didn't. The space was the same space he rented to the previous tenant, a white man, for 30% less." She pauses. "I built this company so that people like my parents would never be exploited by people like that landlord. And I acquired your company because I will not allow people like you to use property as a tool of exclusion in communities that belong to everyone." Gerald Whitmore looks at the table. His hands are flat on the glass surface. He can see his own reflection, distorted, stretched, unrecognizable. The man in the reflection is not the man he has told himself he is for 31 years. The man in the reflection is the man everyone else has always seen. The audit takes 31 days. It is the most thorough review Pinnacle has ever conducted, and Marcus Calloway oversees every detail personally. He and his team reviewed 23 months of email correspondence from Gerald Whitmore's office. They find 47 rejection emails sent to applicants who met or exceeded all documented qualification criteria. 41 of those applicants were black, 4 were Hispanic, 2 were Middle Eastern. The remaining rejected applicants, the white ones, number 6, and each of those 6 was rejected for documented reasons: insufficient income, poor credit history, or previous eviction records. The pattern is mathematically undeniable. An independent statistical analyst, retained by Pinnacle's legal team, calculates the probability of this distribution occurring by chance at less than 0.0001%. It is, in the analyst's clinical language, statistically impossible absent deliberate selection bias. The 3 former applicants who provided statements are a couple named David and Rachel Thompson, who applied to a Whitmore property in the University City neighborhood and were told the unit was leased 3 hours after their in-person showing. It was leased to a white couple 2 weeks later. A single mother named Brianna Wells, who applied to the Ashford itself and was told there were no vacancies, despite 4 units being listed as available on the building's own website at the time of her application. And a retired Army sergeant named Carlos Rodriguez, who applied to a property in the No-Daw neighborhood and was told that his income did not meet the minimum requirement, despite the fact that his income exceeded the requirement by 38%. Each of them tells the same story. Each of them describes the same experience: the polite reception, the cool showing, the folded paper, the email that arrives later, professional, courteous, devastating. No longer available. Already leased. We wish you the best in your search. The language of exclusion. Always clean, always deniable, always legal on its face and illegal in its pattern. Denise Calloway compiles the evidence into a 200-page report. She presents it to the HUD investigator assigned to the case, a woman named Gloria Fernandez, who has been investigating fair housing violations for 22 years and who tells Denise quietly after reviewing the report, This is one of the most systematic patterns of discrimination I've seen in my career, and I've seen a lot. Gerald Whitmore is suspended from his position as property manager on November 15th, 18 days after the acquisition closes. He is informed of the suspension by Marcus Calloway, in person, in the same conference room where the closing took place. Marcus slides the suspension letter across the glass table. Gerald picks it up. He reads it. He puts it down. "This is retaliation," Gerald says. "This is because I didn't rent to you." Marcus looks at him. He looks at him for a long time. He looks at him the way his grandmother looked at property records, carefully, thoroughly, noting every detail, filing every observation. "Mr. Whitmore, you didn't refuse to rent to me because of my credit score, which is 814. You didn't refuse because of my income, which is more than sufficient. You didn't refuse because of my rental history, which is impeccable. You refused because I am black. You refused because my wife is black. You refused because in 31 years of managing property, you have never once allowed a black person to live in any building you control. That is not a business decision. That is not a personal preference. Color of their skin." Gerald opens his color of their skin. Gerald opens his mouth. He closes it. He opens it again. "I'm not a racist," he says. Marcus does not respond to this statement. He has heard it before. He has heard it from every landlord Denise has deposed, from every property manager whose records tell one story while their mouths tell another. The statement, "I'm not a racist," is not a defense. It is a reflex. It is the verbal equivalent of flinching, a word thrown up to block a blow that has already landed. "The suspension is effective immediately," Marcus says. "You will retain your salary during the investigation period. If the HUD investigation results in a finding of discrimination, your employment will be terminated, and the matter will be referred for civil litigation." Gerald stands up. He picks up his leather portfolio. He buttons his navy blazer. His hands are shaking, but his jaw is set, the jaw of a man who still believes, even now, even in this room, even with 200 pages of evidence stacked against him, that he is the one being wronged. He walks to the door. He stops. He turns. He looks at Marcus. "Your grandmother's house," he says. "The one in East St. Louis." Marcus freezes. "I read about you," Gerald says. "After the closing. I looked you up. I read the profile in the Charlotte Business Journal. Your grandmother bought a house for $14,000. He pauses. "That's a nice story, but it doesn't change the fact that I built the Ashford from the ground up. I put my life into these properties, and you're going to take that away from me because of some statistical analysis and a recording that was made without my knowledge." Marcus stands. He picks up his folder. He looks at Gerald Whitmore, a man who built beautiful buildings and filled them with exclusion, a man who confused property with power, and power with the right to decide who deserves shelter. "My grandmother's house is still standing," Marcus says. "It's worth $68,000 today. She paid it off in 22 years. She raised 2 grandchildren in it. She taught me to read a mortgage statement when I was 11. She taught me that property is freedom." He pauses. "You used property as a cage, Mr. Whitmore. You built beautiful buildings and then decided that certain people didn't deserve to live in them. That's not building, that's hoarding, and this company will not be a part of it." Gerald leaves. He walks down the carpeted hallway. He takes the elevator to the lobby. He steps onto South College Street. The November air is cool, sharp, the kind of cold that wakes you up whether you want it to or not. He stands on the sidewalk for a long moment, holding his leather portfolio, looking at the Charlotte skyline, the skyline he helped shape, the skyline that is now, suddenly, irrevocably, someone else's. The HUD investigation concludes in February. The finding is unambiguous. Whitmore Property Group engaged in a pattern of intentional housing discrimination in violation of Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968. The investigation documents 41 instances of discriminatory denial across 14 properties over a 23-month period. Each instance follows the same pattern. Each instance uses the same language. Each instance results in the same outcome. A qualified applicant of color denied housing that was subsequently provided to a less qualified or equally qualified white applicant. Gerald Whitmore's employment is terminated on February 12th. He receives no severance. The termination letter, signed by Catherine Joe, is 11 pages long and cites 17 specific violations of Pinnacle Real Estate Group's fair housing policy, a policy that existed in the acquisition agreement and that Gerald agreed to when he signed the closing documents. The civil litigation is filed in March. The plaintiffs are David and Rachel Thompson, Brianna Wells, Carlos Rodriguez, and Marcus and Denise Calloway. The case is represented by Morrison and Whitfield. Denise does not handle the case personally. The conflict of interest is too direct, but her colleague, a senior partner named Thomas Grayson, leads the litigation team. Grayson is 53 years old, a former DOJ attorney who spent 12 years in the Civil Rights Division before entering private practice. He is methodical, relentless, and he has never lost a fair housing case. The lawsuit seeks compensatory damages for each plaintiff, punitive damages, and a court order requiring Gerald Whitmore to complete fair housing training and submit to 5 years of compliance monitoring. Gerald's defense attorney, a man named Philip Erickson, files a motion to dismiss. The motion argues that Gerald's tenant screening was based on legitimate business criteria and that the demographic data is circumstantial. Judge Sandra Whitfield of the Western District of North Carolina denies the motion in 9 pages. Her ruling notes that the statistical evidence presented by the plaintiffs is not merely circumstantial, it is overwhelming. The probability of the defendant's tenant demographics occurring absent deliberate selection bias is, according to the plaintiff's expert, less than 0.0001%. This court finds sufficient evidence to proceed to trial. The case settles in June. The settlement terms are not publicly disclosed, but court records indicate that Gerald Whitmore pays a total of $1.8 million in damages across all 5 plaintiffs and agrees to the full terms of the compliance order, $1.8 million. It is not the $12.4 million he received for the sale of his properties. It is not the hundreds of millions that Pinnacle manages across its portfolio. It is a fraction, a percentage, a number that will not change Gerald Whitmore's lifestyle or reduce his retirement savings in any meaningful way. But it is a number that is now public record, a number attached to his name, a number that will appear in every background check, every Google search, every due diligence report for the rest of his life. Gerald Whitmore is no longer a respected property developer. He is a case study, a cautionary tale, a footnote in a fair housing textbook that will be read by law students for decades. The beach house in Hilton Head is purchased anyway. Gerald and Sandra move there in August. Gerald joins a golf club. He tells people he is retired. He does not tell them why. Marcus and Denise Calloway move into a house in the Dilworth neighborhood of Charlotte in December. It is not an apartment. It is a house. A 1920s craftsman bungalow with original hardwood floors, a wraparound porch, and a backyard with a magnolia tree that is older than the house itself. They buy it. They do not rent it. The mortgage payment is $3,200 a month. They will never miss a payment. Marcus hangs a framed photograph in his home office. It is not a photograph of the Ashford. It is not a photograph of the settlement check. It is a photograph of a house on Delmar Avenue in East St. Louis, Illinois. A small house, 1,700 square feet, with a garden that grows tomatoes and green beans. His grandmother Loretta is standing on the porch. She is 79 years old in the photograph. She's wearing a floral dress and house shoes. She is smiling the way people smile when they own the ground they stand on. Loretta Calloway passes away in March of the following year. She is 81. She dies in the house she bought for $14,000, in the bedroom where she slept for 53 years, in the bed where she read mortgage statements and taught her grandson that property is freedom. Marcus flies to East St. Louis for the funeral. He stands at the podium in the church on State Street and talks about a woman who never missed a payment, who never went to college but understood compound interest, who raised 2 grandchildren on a nurse's salary and a garden, and the stubborn, unshakable belief that if you own something, nobody can tell you to move. He does not mention Gerald Whitmore. He does not mention the Ashford. He does not mention the settlement or the HUD investigation or the polite language of exclusion. He talks about a house, a small house, a house that cost $14,000 and was worth more than any building Gerald Whitmore ever built because it was more than walls and floors and a roof. It was a statement, a declaration, a line drawn in the earth that said, "We are here. We belong here. We are not leaving." At Pinnacle Real Estate Group, the changes are systemic. Marcus implements a new tenant screening policy across all 200 properties. Applications are reviewed by a 3-person committee. No single individual can approve or deny an application. All decisions are documented. All criteria are standardized. Demographic data is monitored quarterly. Any property that deviates significantly from the demographic profile of its surrounding community triggers an automatic review. Within 18 months of the acquisition, the Ashford's tenant demographics shift from 0% Black to 28% Black, approaching parity with Charlotte's metropolitan population. The waiting list grows. Occupancy reaches 97%. Revenue increases by 11%. Gerald Whitmore's fear, the fear that shaped his entire career, the fear that diverse tenants would destroy property values and drive away desirable residents, is proven wrong by every metric that matters. The building is fuller. The revenue is higher. The community is stronger. The only thing that changed is who is allowed to live there. Sarah Park, the junior engineer who mouthed the words, "I'm sorry," in a different story, in a different building, in a different city, is not here. But people like her are everywhere. People who witness injustice and want to act but don't know how. People who see the folded paper slide across the counter and know what it means, but feel powerless to stop it. This story is for them too, because witnessing matters. Because the concierge named Paul, who saw Marcus and Denise walk into the lobby and felt his expression flicker, he matters too. He is part of the system that Gerald built, the system that requires silent participation from everyone in the building. The receptionist who looks away, the concierge who doesn't ask questions, the residents who never notice that every face in the elevator looks like theirs. Silence is architecture. It builds the same walls that Gerald built, invisible ones, the kind that don't show up in blueprints, but are just as real as brick and steel. Have you ever been told that something was no longer available and known in your body, in the place below words, that it was a lie? Have you ever walked into a building and felt the temperature change, not the actual temperature, but the human temperature, the warmth draining from the room because someone has decided, before you speak a word, that you do not belong? Have you ever been folded in half like a piece of paper and slid back across a counter? Think about that. Think about the 41 people who were denied housing across Gerald Whitmore's properties. Think about the ones who drove hours, who dressed carefully, who prepared their documents and their credit scores and their hope, and were sent home with a polite email and a lie. Think about the 14-minute showing where the landlord doesn't point out the amenities because he has already decided you won't be staying. Think about the 7 minutes in the lobby, the 41 seconds in the elevator, the 4 seconds of recognition on a man's face when he realizes that the person he dismissed is the person who now controls his future. This is not just Marcus and Denise's story. This is a story about who gets to live where, about who gets to call a place home, about the difference between a door that opens and a door that closes, and how that difference is measured not in hinges and handles, but in the color of the hand that reaches for the knob. Gerald Whitmore built beautiful buildings. He chose beautiful materials. He hired talented architects. He created spaces that people wanted to live in. And then he decided that only certain people deserved to live in them. He made that decision 41 times in 23 months. He made it with polite language and professional emails and the unassailable confidence of a man who has never been told no. He made it because he could, because the system let him, because nobody was counting. Until someone counted. Until a man who learned to read mortgage statements at 11 years old pulled the demographic data and ran the numbers 3 times because the first 2 times he thought he was making an error. He was not making an error. The numbers were right. The pattern was real. The beautiful buildings were built on exclusion. And exclusion, no matter how polished, no matter how professionally worded, no matter how many brass buttons are on the blazer of the man who practices it, is always, always ugly. Share this story. Not because it ended well for Marcus and Denise, although it did. Not because Gerald Whitmore was held accountable, although he was. Share it because for every Marcus Calloway with a corporate title and a legal team and a grandmother who taught him to read the fine print, there are thousands of people who receive the polite email and have no recourse, who drive home in silence, who never file a complaint, who accept the lie because fighting it requires resources they don't have and energy they can't spare, and faith in a system that has never protected them. Subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, because these stories need to be told by someone other than the people who lived them. Because the language of exclusion thrives in silence, and the only way to break it is to say it out loud, clearly, specifically, with names and numbers and dates, and the 14-minute recording of a man who thought his words would never be heard. And the next time someone tells you that something is no longer available, ask yourself, available to whom, for whom, and who decided?